Breaking Brown family, what's going on? It's Yvette Carnell coming to you every Monday and Wednesday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I want to give you a moment, as usual, to do what you got to do. Get your libations, get yourself together, get yourself situated, and once you get yourself situated, we will get into the topic of the day. So my computer's a little slow today, so I can't see who's in here yet, but everybody, get yourselves together. If you're new to the space, I know I'm getting a lot of people who are new to Breaking Brown. If you are new to Breaking Brown, what I want you to do is make sure you hit the subscribe button. Make sure you hit the bell so that you know. But the bell is very important because you'll be like, oh, I came and I didn't see Vet's not on, and maybe I was late, or maybe so you get. And sometimes I do quick hits. I'm going to be doing more of those since you all gave me donations and I got a new camera. So that's what it is. And speaking of donations, you can go to breakingbrown.com and set up a monthly donation where you donate to this political education that we're doing once a month in an amount 3, 5, 7, 10, 15, 25, 50, 100, however much you want to pay a month. You can do that at breakingbrown.com. You can also subscribe to the newsletter, which is also at breakingbrown.com. So you can do that as well. The newsletter is just $2 a month, and it's links that I come across during the week that I think are important for the African American community in terms of understanding things that impact our lives. If you want to do something real quick, you can go to donatebrown.com and make a one-time donation. Please, if you want to do for free, go to subscribetobrown.com and just add your name to the subscription list so I have access to you outside of YouTube, outside of Facebook, just in case. There's a lot of people getting pulled down for whatever reason. We haven't done anything wrong. We are a political show, and we deal with data and political links. So, I don't know how any of the clips that we have here are fair use. Okay? Look it up, fair use. So I just want to put that out there if anybody's watching. But just, you never know. So please, 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 please do that. And if you please share this on your Facebook, share these links in your groups, and if you've gotten your libations, we can get down to business. Now, the one thing I want to say is that I didn't even want to address this first part of what I'm going to address right here today, because I wanted to talk the whole show about affirmative action and the news I saw about Trump and Sessions. Sessions' middle name is Beauregard.
Really?
Beauregard.
Yeah,
that sounds like a Confederate general.
I think so.
Yes. But anyway, Mr. Sessions, Attorney General Sessions, according to the New York Times, we don't know if it's absolutely true, but according to the Times, they say he's planning to take on discrimination of white people in terms of affirmative action. So I'm going to address that in a couple of seconds, but there was one thing that I had to address ahead of time. There has been a lot of silliness and foolishness going on surrounding Kamala Harris. You all know I dealt with that last episode, but apparently you're bringing me, hey Byron, you're bringing me right back in. And so I'm looped back in. I cannot help myself when I'm looped back in this way. When I see foolishness affecting my people, I have to call it out. I have no choice. So if those of you who don't know, there are these, there's been this black woman equal pay conversation going on for after the equal pay day, and there was a hashtag, and Kamala Harris came out with the awful neoliberal plan that was like job training, and we covered that the last time, and transparency were the answer. Now the thing that there are a couple of things that bother this, and Antonio Moore covered a bit of this. You can go to Tone Talks and find that he covered a bit of this the other day in one of his videos. But there's also, there are additional elements here that need to be addressed. One of the things that needs to be addressed is this equal pay for black women. Black women don't get paid less than black men once you include the number of black men who are in jail and not making any money or making $1 an hour. That totally trashes, that brings down the bottom. Now they're working, they're just either not getting paid or they're getting paid very minimally. And the reason we don't normally include incarcerated people is because it's usually not many of them. But in the black community, a lot of black men, 10,000 per 100,000, that's huge. Black women, less than 1%. So you have to include that number. So when I see that, I love my sisters. I'm a black woman myself. What I'm saying though is, what is afoot here? When I see this sort of like it's being divisive, because really there are no black, the things that we experience as African Americans is not because, well, black men make more than us and we gotta, no, it's because we're black people. And you have to be very careful of anyone who tries to convince you that you're not black people, that you black woman, you black man. No, we're just a group of people that come from slaves. That's why we don't have anything. We don't have a lot in common with black women who just aren't making as much of as their husbands. You can also marry out of that. That's something that black women cannot do. So I want to try to put this in perspective. There was a t-shirt. Isn't that something? There was a t-shirt.
Put it up.
Yeah, there's this t-shirt that's going around. And it is actually, I think that's her in the picture. I might have another picture, I'm not sure. But it's Kamala Harris's niece, who is selling these phenomenal. See if you can find there's a Twitter account with it too. Look on my page. Look on my Facebook page. This, first of all, it's Maya Angelou inspired. It's a Maya Angelou inspired t-shirt. Now, Maya Angelou and her family, from what I understand, are not getting anything from this shirt. They're not getting anything from this shirt. But that's being used to kind of sell the shirt to African American women and kind of get us into this kind of idea that somehow we're going to change something or move something or change the way we do stuff or change the politics. Change the politics of what we do and how we do it through a shirt. I can tell you something, ladies and gentlemen who will watch, revolution will never come through a t-shirt. Evolution will never come to a t-shirt. Your rights as African Americans, descendants of slaves in this country, will never come through a t-shirt. So what you have here is basically a spectacle. You have a spectacle. This woman is creating a spectacle. Can you grab that from my page, Aaron? Grab that picture from my page of her niece with the there's a tweet there. You can screenshot it and grab it and throw it up. So and so it's very interesting. Now I want to do something. I want to do something for you. Let me just I want to take a moment, and tell you, because what they're saying is this. They're saying that this goes to charity. And so when we hear that, we're gonna rock out our phenomenal woman t-shirts and it's gonna go to charity. It's gonna go to charity, so it's all good. Let me tell you what charities these are going to, because that's important. It's important to know what charities. I mean, do you want to give and not?
It's going to Howard, right?
No.
Morehouse, Spelman. It's got to be going to Spelman. There's some phenomenal women. No.
Ain't going to Spelman either. It's going to a lot of places. It's going to, Emerge America, an in-depth 7-month, 70-hour training providing aspiring Democrat female leaders with cutting-edge tools. Blah, 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 blah. It's going to Emily's List.
A lot of black women. No.
Now it is going to the SC Justice Group. That's the only one that I found that has in there to end mass incarceration. But it says harnessing the collective power of women with incarcerated loved ones to end mass incarceration. Mass incarceration's harm to women. Okay? Girls Who Code. NARAL Pro-Choice America. Planned Parenthood Education Fund. The United States of Women. A megaphone for gender equality. Listen, the majority of these programs are not going, something inspired by Maya Angelou is not going to black people. It's not going to African Americans. It's just not happening. And so when I look at this, I'm like, what's going on? What's the problem? But I don't know why, because I understand what the problem is. The problem is this is just a spectacle. This is Kamala Harris's niece trying to do her thing. And most of these organizations that I just mentioned were Clinton connected organizations, except for the one I mentioned that about mass incarceration. And that's her niece right there. That's the one who's doing this and selling all these shirts. That's her niece. Now I want clip number 3 now. Now this is her niece. This is Kamala Harris's niece. You see how a lot of people are able to float between black and white and plop over here and plop over there. They can straddle the fence. People say, well, Yvette, you're light skinned. I don't straddle nothing. I don't straddle nothing.
Problem is, you talk too much and you got hair.
Yeah, and talk too much, nappy hair, and the nose is a little bit.
Shave yourself and keep your mouth shut.
And just look bug-eyed. But it ain't happening over here. This is the oh my God. Now, like, I don't know if she took the 300K, but this is what it is. Now, I want you to look at something. People say, what about girls' code, Yvette? What about girls' code? Isn't that wonderful that they're teaching girls the code and we should be all on board as African Americans teaching girls the code? What say you, Yvette? I want you to see what's put that up, Aaron. I want you to see this. I just Googled, what is this girls' code thing, and Googled it. And when you bring it up and you Google like Hillary Clinton, what happens is that the search comes up with Hillary Clinton, girls code. Girls who code Hillary Clinton, girls who code Hillary Clinton. Because one of the founders is a former Hillaryite or whatever you want to call them. So it's kind of like a Hillary operation. All roads seem to lead back to Hillary and Kamala and neoliberalism. That's what we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with. And I think everybody needs to understand that. This is the resistance, I suppose. I think this is what apparently this is what the resistance looks like. Somebody said no perm, Yvette. No, I had that in college. Burnt my scalp. Anyway, this is the resistance. The resistance is get a t-shirt. And that's why I keep telling you. The stupid people and sellouts cannot lead. They cannot be depended upon to lead. And a lot of people who y'all get on me a lot about Yvette. You go too hard on some people.
But look,
too hard.
Look, in a few weeks, we're going to be asking people if they want to buy a t-shirt.
Yeah.
But I will tell you right now, this t-shirt.
But the revolution won't come from you buying that t-shirt.
It'll just be a t-shirt with Yvette's face on it. That's it.
Yeah, and we want to use it. Like I would like to come to cities and stuff. Like maybe we can fund some of that. And we can fund me coming out and we can talk black politics and we can put some kind of plan in place for what you have going on in your communities. That's an actionable thing. And I'm not working for Hillary Clinton. And I'm not working for Kamala Harris. You're just funding what we do and funding me hopefully to come out to you. It's not the same thing because I'm happy you said that. That's the first thing you say, well, you sold a t-shirt. Yeah, to get to you. I didn't sell a t-shirt to Let me just say this first. Look at clips. I want you to look at, I think it starts at clip 4 and then put up clip 5. You all keep telling me that I shouldn't talk about, oh Yvette, why you talk about Issa Rae? Oh Yvette, why did you talk about Tracy Ellis Ross? This is just art, Yvette. I don't know why you can't understand it. It is just art. And these people are just being artists and they don't have any wider impact. I just want you to look at this when Ivy puts up clips 4 and 5. I want you to just take a look for me. And I want you to understand why African Americans don't have the luxury of having certain people in the forefront. We don't have the luxury of having people in the forefront who don't understand that there's nothing revolutionary about a t-shirt and that we're in a position, we're drowning. We don't have time to just be selling t-shirts that funnel back to Clinton organizations and help Kamala's niece out. We got to help regular black people. This little theater that you're doing. That somehow, think makes you cool and makes you cool to the white feminists and look great in front of them and you look like one of the team. It doesn't help African Americans for the most part. There was one group in there that, African Americans. That's it. It don't go to us. And you just threw that in there. I'm happy they get something, but you threw that in there. That's not revolution. But they do that because we're so invested in Tracy Ellis Ross. We so invested in Issa Rae because, oh, my girl, she black girl, magic girl. She magic. Ain't no magic in being an underclass. You got to fix that. Somebody putting on a t-shirt don't help you, especially if that money that's from Maya Angelou. Is Maya Angelou inspired in terms of phenomenal woman? Don't go to nobody. This ain't even art. Somebody put 2 words on a t-shirt and made a few $100,000 off of it. Because of what? They put something that you didn't even create a piece of art. There's nothing there. It's just 2 words. If I had done it, nobody would have bought it. It's only because these people are wearing it. Listen, these people are not your friends. These people are not your friends. And let's put up clip number 6. Who is that? Let's see what's going on. Let's talk about Essence. Let's talk about Essence magazine. Can we talk about Essence for a minute? Essence was pushing this. Put your t-shirt. Do you want to know where to find your t-shirt?
Who owns Essence, by the way? Is it
white people in it?
Okay, I don't know.
I think it's white on now. Can somebody tell me out there? Didn't Essence get bought out? I think they did. I think they got bought out. But they're telling you where to get your t-shirt. As if that's the most. I mean, who cares? Who cares? You can go get a t-shirt print if you really want a word to say phenomenal one. Go get you one and print it on yourself.
Time Warner.
Oh well, that's this.
Well, that's a company that's notorious for caring about the Negro.
This is why you can't listen, my black people. This is why you can't be led by stupid people, and you can't be led by people that don't really understand our history or haven't been steeped in it. And even if they haven't been steeped in it, they haven't studied it. They can put up these things and not really do anything for African Americans. And you'll be like, yeah, she's down for the cause. Based on what? A t-shirt on her Instagram? And I don't even care if you give to some people. Tell me about well, Issa Rae gave to Austin Sterling. She does 10 times that more damage with every show and everything she said based on what I did. And I did that last show, so I'm not going to address it again this show. But 10 times or 100 times more damage than what she does. That's just what it is. It's just the truth of the situation. I'm not doing it. I'm just telling you what it is. To get caught up in these t-shirts because it makes you feel like you've done something and you've done nothing. We got number 7 up yet, Now listen. I told a friend of mine yesterday, I said, this whole Kamala Harris is using this Black Equality Day. Black women equal pay day. To just kind of get the same black female vote that Hillary Clinton got. That's it. There's nothing else to it. And the thing is, we got to stop being so easy. Why are we so easily convinced that these people are down for the cause and that they want to be there for us? And they got the t-shirt on, girl. She rocking with us. No. Look at Hillary Clinton with her in that shirt. This is a Clinton operation. And they're telling y'all to go out and buy t-shirts to fund the Clinton operation because most of these groups are groups connected to Hillary Clinton. And we going out and buying them and not looking at who is in these groups and what they're up to. Come on, man. What are we doing? Who do we think we are? Like, I don't know why we can't think through stuff. This is just like somebody said, just propaganda. This is just propaganda. She's just putting with Hillary Clinton in this shirt. And you want to go get the same stupid shirt. Charging you $30 for an $8 shirt. And for what? It don't even benefit you. You're not paying for nothing that you want. You're not paying for somebody to do something or come to your city or do so or feed kids, do anything. Well, you paying, come on.
Maybe Emily's List will want to sponsor the show. You don't think Emily's List? You're strong, sister. No. You don't think
I saw all these black women recently. We saw black women get killed in jails. What was her name? The Sandra Bland and among others. And none of these feminist groups came out and supported Sandra Bland and none of these other women. But you want me to come out and buy a t-shirt? You better leave me alone. Black people ain't got time for this stuff. No agenda. Kamala Harris ain't got no agenda, but she got a t-shirt. Her niece got a t-shirt.
Oh, she has an agenda. We just talked last time about how it won't work.
Yeah, not an agenda that benefits us.
No, the agenda won't, no. It'll get a lot of black women fired.
Yeah.
It's that lean in agenda.
We're gonna have transparency and then you can demand higher pay. Go try it. Because people don't understand. People say, well, the market is... No, the market is there for employers. Employers have the opportunity to select because there's a surplus of workers. You do not have an opportunity to select your employer because that's never been how capitalism works. It's a joke. You don't get to select your employer. Well, I'll go move to another employer. That was a great article a while back, and I didn't bring it because I didn't plan on talking about this, about how Steve Jobs, I think the head of Google, got together and decided how much they were going to pay their engineers and that they weren't going to pay above a certain amount. You can't go from Google to Apple and be like, I'm going to get more. These people have colluded. And that's been going on since before Rockefeller. You see, Rockefeller did the same thing. These people who own stuff have always been colluding against the interests of workers. That's nothing that's ever changed. And they're never going to be on your side. They want to decrease. That's just another cost. They want to decrease all costs. And labor is just another cost. And that's all they want to do. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares about your family. This is what they want labor to do. And they can decrease the cost of labor to zero, they will do it. And that's why we had slaves.
You're saying
no pay.
So you're saying that if a hardworking sister goes up to her white boss and says, I saw that I don't get paid as much as my male colleague. I expect you to make this right. You don't think the boss is going to say...
I think he's upset that you walked in there and decided you're going to tell him what to do his company. He's going to get rid of you.
Yes.
You don't have a right. You're a member of an underclass. You're lucky to be here, but you came in here, so I'm going to send you home eventually. I might not do it today, but I'm going to ride you until it's time to leave.
Yeah, and then you'll get a nice little email saying, this isn't going to work out.
Yeah, we tried. It's a right to work stake, though. I can fire you for anything. Peace be with you.
Yes.
And people say...
I hope you get your equal pay someplace else.
Yeah, I wish you the best of luck. And all you do.
Go
be
an entrepreneur.
And they just being buttholes. I wish you all the best. You don't leave me alone. And some of you will say, oh, Yvette's being divisive. Listen, the only reason you think I'm being divisive is because nobody's telling the truth. Like if people were telling the truth and we didn't live in this politically correct world, which is basically censorship, you would know. They're like, Yvette's right. It's just the truth. It's just common sense, but you don't. And so since we're talking about truth, let's get into the truth of affirmative action.
Okay.
Let's just have a conversation. I want to just have a conversation because there are some hard truths we got to tell about that as well. Now, as many of you know, today, I think earlier yesterday, but sometime around that time, we found out, or it was reported, I don't know when to trust the Times and when not to. They got a sketchy track record. But we found out that apparently Sessions is going to target schools that use affirmative action, saying that basically those schools are, engaged in reverse discrimination or something like that. And I mean, there's a lot going on that needs to be unraveled. First of all, and you can put up clip 9 on me. First of all, what we need to unravel is that, you heard me, Aaron? First of all, what we need to unravel is that Bill Clinton was the first to do this. Bill Clinton wanted to basically get rid of affirmative action, but Jesse Jackson said he was going to run against him in 96, threatened to run against him in 96, didn't do it. So Clinton came up with the mend it, don't end it in terms of affirmative action, which was some bumbled mess. You can go on YouTube and you can read the speech. Clip number 9. You can go on YouTube and you can read not YouTube, but you can go and you can Google Clinton, mend it, not end it, affirmative action. We've been on the road to ending affirmative action ever since LBJ decided that affirmative action was for black people. And it's just, I'm not going to read the quote right now again today, but it's in When Affirmative Action Was Right. If you look it up, that if you get that book, there's no reason why you shouldn't have When Affirmative Action Was Right. It's an excellent book. Please pick it up. I think it's like page 7. Where he talks about that. Do you have that book, Aaron?
Yeah.
But bring it. I said I wasn't gonna read it, but it's you got to just memorize this. Sometimes you just have to memorize stuff because it's important. Okay? We have to as a group understand. First of all, people say, well, civil rights are for everybody, but affirmative action ain't. And it wasn't. And so now we're in quite the pickle, aren't we? Because they're coming after affirmative action, but they're coming after it. What opens up affirmative action for us to go after it is that basically we've diluted it, and as black people, as African Americans, we've allowed it to be diluted. It says, listen, you do not, this is what LBJ said at Howard University. We all know when LBJ speaks at a school or any president speaks somewhere, it's for a reason. The reason he spoke at Howard University was because, plain and simple, it was intended for the descendants of slaves. He says, you do not wipe away the scars of centuries by saying, centuries. Who's been here centuries? Not just somebody who crossed the border yesterday. Not just someone who just flew over here from a different continent yesterday. Centuries is us. He says, now you are free to go where you want and do as you desire and choose the leaders as you please. You do not take a person who for years has been hobbled by chains. Chains? Who was chained in this country for African Americans? Hobbled by chains and liberate him, bring him up to the starting line of a race and say, you are free to compete with all the others and still justly believe that you have been completely fair. Thus, it is not enough just to open the gates of opportunity. All our citizens must have the ability to walk through those gates. That's what he said. That's what he said. That's what LBJ said. We seek not just freedom, but opportunity. We seek not just legal equity, but human ability. Not just equality as a right and the theory, but equality as a fact and a result. And to secure these rights speech. Black people. That's black people. That's who we talking to. That's who he's talking to. Now, let me tell you what we've allowed to happen in this country, and something that African Americans should have fought against all the time. We have allowed everybody except white men to be beneficiaries of affirmative action. It is indefensible and unjustifiable to maintain affirmative action when, quote unquote, diversity is the only goal. And let me tell you why. If I want to show you, and I'm not even an academic, but I can do this in a heartbeat. If affirmative action is for African Americans, I can go and get the data like that. And I can draw a line between what happened to African Americans in terms of slavery, redlining, Reconstruction, white mobs, redlining, housing discrimination, white flight. And I can show you how slavery and everything that extended from it directly led to the position of African Americans. It's justifiable. There's no way to gut it. This is what it is. I can show you the wage gap, the wealth gap, the income. I can show you all of that. I can show you how white people who are high school graduates get more than black people who have college degrees. I can prove it to you. Prove the bias to you. Unquestionable. You cannot do that when you include everybody. You cannot do that when you include white women. You cannot do that when you include somebody who just walked across the border. Tell me how that's fair. You just came here from wherever you came from, whether it's Mexico, whether it's Ethiopia, wherever you came from, and you have just as much as a right or a claim to affirmative action as I do, and my history of oppression and marginalization goes back 400 years. How does that math add up to you? And the problem in terms of affirmative action is that we never made that case. We never said, listen, no. I love everybody, but this right here is for me. We never said, this is for me, this belongs to me, this is mine. And now we're suffering the repercussions because let me tell you something. They've been trying to kill it for a while. It's been dead for us for a while. And part of that has to do with our own ineptitude. Put up clip number 10. It was going to be hard enough, though, for us to fight for our own. Because even when it was just African Americans and some poor white people, they were still, the Freedmen's Bureau was supposed to help us out with that. And they were still saying no. They were still saying absolutely not. So it was still going to be hard, but we can do it because the data supports us. When you talk about African American, we have all the data. We have slavery and everything that came from it. When you talk about other groups, you don't have that. So it's very easy now for someone to file a lawsuit and be like, what does this mean? It's very easy to do that. Look at that picture. The people who fought for free in this country and did all this stuff for free are caricatured as slovenly and lazy and worthless. It's funny how you work for free and get caricatured in this manner. The Freedmen's Bureau. Look at that. I mean, that's horrible. That's horrible. And we have squandered. We have squandered as a people. We have squandered what our people work for. This was supposed to give us a leg up after chattel slavery and everything we've been through. It was supposed to give us something. But we allowed it to be given to everybody. And so now it's meaningless. And now it's about to be taken away from us. Because we ain't going to fight for it. Hell, put that up. White women are the main beneficiaries. And they don't fight for it. That's from Vox. White women are the main beneficiaries and the main opposers. Ain't that something? But those are your allies, right? Oh no, they're allies. And let me just read something to you, to just be sure, to, you know, because it says something as well about how, you know, this was primarily something that was for African Americans. Read that article if you get a chance. I'm not necessarily going to go through it right now, but read it when you get a chance. This was not gender specific. It was not for white women. And we got to stop thinking about just this like women, men. No, this stuff gets funneled back. See, white women, it's like a 75% marriage rate. So you're probably married to a white man. That gets funneled back to a white family. What does that have to do with chattel slavery? If you want something, build your own thing and fight for your own thing. Everybody, but what's happened here is everybody's piggybacking on what African Americans got. Everybody's piggybacking. So black people got affirmative action. So now we're going to make it for everybody. Everybody except white men going to get it. So of course that's unsustainable. Of course that's not what you want. Of course that's not. And the thing is, you know, the thing about it is, I don't see how that makes sense. And I don't see how it makes sense for us to support it. How? How? And if you look at, you know, there was a 2003, I think it was a 2003, I think it was Grutter versus Bollinger, a 5-4 decision in favor of affirmative action. And what they basically said was something to the extent of, well, you know, affirmative action is good in terms of creating a diverse campus. That's BS. Yeah. That's not what it was designed for. Like, diversity is good for the campus. Of course it's going to get torn apart. I don't see why black people run around supporting diversity. No, support making me whole for what you did. Support making me 100%. You never gave me the tools as an African American to be a whole citizen and be competitive in a white country with all this capital. You never did it. And affirmative action is one of the ways you make me whole. I don't care about diversity. I don't care if I see a Asian face or a Hispanic face on the black. I care about you making me and my community whole. How come we can't be clear about what we want and what we need? It was never about that. It was never about just like seeing brown faces on campus. Wasn't about that. Still ain't about that. But you allowed them to make it about that. And Democrats gave it away. They gave away what was meant for us because they wanted our vote. They wanted Latino votes. They wanted everybody else's vote. Wanted women to vote for them. So they said we're gonna take what was given to African Americans. We're gonna give it to you so we can get you to vote for us. Never cared about us.
Yeah, we definitely need to be more specific about diversity. San Francisco's very diverse. The only black people in San Francisco left are in jail.
Yeah, a bunch of whole, like, we got Asians, you got some
very
diverse.
Latinos,
you got women, you got gay people. That's diverse. We ain't there. Who cares about diversity?
California is very diverse, shedding black people. So we need programs for black descendants of slaves.
Yeah.
And we need to not be run away from it. We need to run away from it. We're black descendants of slaves. Where's our cut? I'm ready for my inheritance due for work services rendered.
Yeah, and that's what it is.
Right.
And that's why do you think LBJ made that speech at Howard University? Why do you think that was? And it just bothers me. It just bothers me. I'm trying to find this line. It just bothers me how kumbaya black people are. In terms of it says this is the Vox article I'm reading from about white women being the main people who main beneficiary of affirmative action. It says the National Labor Relations Act in 1935 was one of the first federal documents to use the term affirmative action to correct unfair labor practices. While the Public Works Administration temporarily followed racially proportional hiring practices, which were dismantled at the end of World War II, it wasn't until President John F. Kennedy issued an executive order in 1961 requiring affirmative action to counter employment discrimination among federal contractors with specific attention to race. That affirmative action was institutionalized. That was the government's response to the demands of the burgeoning civil rights movement that brought racial discrimination to the front and center in America. Affirmative action was a response to the civil rights movement in this country on behalf of African Americans and the descendants of slaves and sharecroppers. That's what it was. That's what it was supposed to be. But now we've allowed it to be diluted to the point to where it's unsustainable and will be struck down. I don't see affirmative action lasting, because how can you say that somebody, if you're a white man in this country, how can there be any kind of rationale that somebody who just came from Honduras or El Salvador or Eritrea or Saudi Arabia is entitled to something that you're not entitled to? That just because they're brown. That's an indefensible position, legally and otherwise. You cannot just say diversity is important. What you can say is African Americans deserve to be made whole for everything we've put them through, for the hell we've put them through in this country. That's what you can and should say.
Very good.
Now, I wanna go quickly to clip. Before I go to clip 12, I'm going to go to that in a second. I'm changing the order of this. I want to go to clip 13. And I want to talk to you about something. If you've been watching this before, you know that this is kind of where I am. But I want to tell you, I want to break it down. I want to take it to that next level. Okay? And I want you to understand. Oh, wow. I just want people to understand.
Am I going to hit him with it right now?
Yeah. There was a professor, this article's from 2013, Professor Affirmative Action isn't helping the right people. He's an Indiana University Maurer School of Law Professor Kevin Brown. And he said something. He said colleges are giving fewer and fewer spots to traditional African American students with two black parents whose ancestors endured discrimination, while giving more spots to immigrants. That's what he told Business Insider. He says black immigrants who started coming to the U.S. in large numbers after the 1970s tend to have higher incomes than non-immigrant blacks, which leads to stronger college applications. Now there are disproportionately high numbers of black immigrants at elite colleges. One study found 40% of black freshmen in Ivy League institutions, even though that population only accounted for 18% of black 18 and 19-year-olds in the U.S. Let me read that one more time for you. If you don't think you're being replaced, let me read that. One study found 40% of the black freshmen in Ivy League institutions were immigrants, even though that population only accounted for 18% of black 18 and 19-year-olds. We're being systematically replaced. And I'm not telling you that somebody from, I don't care whether it's Nigeria, Ghana, wherever, can't come to America and study. You just don't need to get my affirmative action slot. You need to compete with Asians. Compete with white people. That's who you need to compete with to get into Harvard and Stanford. You don't have a legacy of discrimination. Now, if you were somebody who's an African immigrant and you can show the Stanford people that your legacy goes back to W.B. Du Bois or Garvey, or somebody, show that it goes back to a Caribbean who was here a long time ago. You're not first generation. You third or fourth generation. Okay, then we can have a conversation. even second or third. But you can't come over here and compete with me when this thing shows, you know, you have a higher income. Yeah. You went to better schools. When I went to hire Nigerians who schooled in London, why are you competing against me? How you gonna compete with them? And they schooled in London, and you schooled in Southside Chicago. How? Compete with the people you're supposed to compete against, and that ain't me. All right, that ain't African Americans.
Antonio just checked in on my Facebook here. He said, remind Yvette of the Darity point in his interview, where Darity talked to Duke admissions people, and they said, yeah, you know, we need black faces on campus.
Yep.
But we like African immigrants because they're less likely to be political.
If y'all don't remember,
demand stuff.
It's on Antonio Moore's YouTube page. Go to Tone Talks. He did an interview with Sandy Darity. Go check that out. During the interview, Sandy Darity of Duke University said that universities prefer African students because they don't cause trouble. Now I want you to think about something. These students are benefiting by being at those colleges. They're benefiting from the struggles of African Americans, but they get chosen to school because they don't struggle, because they don't keep up a ruckus. They're not going to protest on campus. They're not going to cause no trouble. They're not going to demand no rights. Now think about that. You're climbing up on the backs of African Americans who struggled, and you're getting chose over the children of those African Americans because you don't struggle for nothing. Think about how that is, and think about what fools we are. How idiotic you have to be to fall for that, and to say, if you were my brother, you should say, I'm not going to compete, and I agree that affirmative action belongs to you all. If I were to go anywhere, I don't care whether it be Nigeria or Haiti or whatever, and if they have slots set aside for the descendants who fought the colonizers, I would not go there and say should have access to that too, because it doesn't belong to me. It belongs to you. And if I can't compete to get into those schools, then I just won't get into those schools. That's how you be a good ally. That's how you be a good immigrant. And if I go to a country, that's how I'm going to be a good immigrant. I'm not going to compete for stuff that my forefathers didn't die in Haiti or Ghana or Nigeria or any of them places. I'm not going to go over there and supplant you. Now, I'm certainly not going to go over there and be in a position where I'm not going to be fighting for your rights. I'm not going to do it. That's not a good ally. My responsibility is to fight for your rights once I'm in that country, because if I see myself with you, that's what I got to do. My job is not to just keep my head down and get into a school that you can't get into because I took your spot. That's not what it's supposed to be. U.S. blacks, where is that?
This is Los Angeles.
Los Angeles.
The Color of Change report, it's called. You can Google it. The Color of Change. And read the numbers. These are net worths.
African blacks worth $72,000. U.S. blacks worth $3,000 to $4,000. Color of Change report. Net worth.
So from what I know, there's a difference on what kind of moves you can make from in LA with $72,000 versus what you can do with $3,000 to $4,000.
That's a move. That's a difference no matter where you are in terms of what kind of move you can make.
Yeah, the Color of Wealth report. The Color of Wealth. The Color of Wealth report. Yeah. So like, they look like us, or like my dad's from Africa, my mom's from South Carolina. So like, we look the same, but there's a difference between 3.5 to 4K and 72K.
That's a big difference.
There's a big difference.
That's a big difference.
And especially
we've been here 400 years.
Especially when everyone you know is worth 72K versus everyone you know
is worth 3 to 4, and that seems 3 to 4K seems big.
Yeah, but that's in LA, and 3 to 4K.
LA. Yeah,
this is Los Angeles specific.
Okay, yeah,
3 to 4K in Los Angeles specific isn't even enough to like put a down payment on an apartment,
on a car.
Like, you mean no? Like you got to leave LA if that's all you have.
Go home.
You need to go back to Georgia.
Always running. You know why we always running now? We don't want to fight. We just want to have our kumbaya money. Did you put up 14 iron before? Because I got something else I need to talk to you about. But and Google that. That's Google that. That's a Business Insider report from 2013. You know, Professor Affirmative Action isn't helping the right people. Google that. You can read it. You can read it from Kevin Brown, law professor, Indiana University. Check that out. And there was another. This one came from the Griot. It says Harvard. It's about Harvard. Look at that. It says the Harvard has a lot of black people, but are they African American? Are they? And it says, and this isn't the only area this comes from. It said there's also competition with the black community for spots in colleges with increased. These black websites, Lord have mercy, they just jump around and ads jump up. Please bear with me. Woo. Stuff just jump all around the page. We have to make money. I understand, but just the whole page just go to jumping and acting a monkey. It says I can't even scroll. Lord have mercy. Can we get this together? I sure would appreciate it. If it jumped back down by itself. Well, basically, it's saying that it says there's competition with the black community for spots in colleges. With increased immigration from Africa and the Caribbean, you now have Nigerians, Ghanaians, Jamaicans, and other nationalities all competing with native-born African Americans. And colleges and universities, for the most part, aren't reporting on the numbers. We do not differentiate among African American students according to their national backgrounds, nor could we, as there is no question on the common application that asks the question, and that's the problem.
You can put a question on there.
You can put a question on there.
I can type it up for you real quickly. They have one that says Latino non-white.
Yeah.
You can have one that says
African American DOS.
Descendant of slaves.
And the DOS should get priority over everybody.
Yeah.
Over women, over Mexicans, over everybody.
Harvard's the most powerful institution.
We don't have a form for that.
They can't put in one more question.
Well,
on the application.
They don't want to because the immigrants mask our failure.
Yes.
So we're failing in this country. We ain't going to Harvard and Stanford like that no more. So we're failing. And so the way that you mask our failure is just to bring in black faces and say, well, we got a lot of black students.
We can't tell them apart. We literally can't tell them apart. Kofi, Jamal, we don't know.
We don't ask that question. because if we just showed it and we said African Americans DOS and you saw the small number of African Americans who are descendants of slaves who are really on that campus, something would have to be done about it. You would see how we're failing. Something would have to be done about it. But since you don't quantify, the best way to get out of doing what's right by people is to just not count it. We don't count it, so we don't know. You could know, you just don't want to know. Everybody is masking black failure. That's how we live now. Everything is masking black failure. Right? So that you can't see that there was no corrective mechanism taken to actually make us okay or to make us whole. You can't see that. We can't see that. That's the whole point of the way they're doing it. So that we can't see, so that we can't know. Put up 15, Irv. I mean, that's just what it is. I'm not trying to tell you nothing. It's just what it is. How do we not see that?
And you know who's the ultimate?
Who?
This is Antonio. Who's the ultimate cover of our failure and beneficiary of affirmative action?
Who that?
Your first black president.
Oh, Mr. Barack Obama. The man who inherited like $500,000 from his white family. He was anchored in his white family, inherited all that money. He was a legacy at Harvard. He inherited it. He did. I mean,
ultimate mask.
And we saw him as one of us because why? We saw it in terms of skin color. So Barack Obama could get up and say, "Well, when I try to catch a cab, they look at me as black too." Listen, Playboy. Life of African Americans is not about catching a cab. There's a whole lot that goes to our lineage and our history and historically how we've been. That didn't happen to you. So look at what we have now. We have Barack Obama, who was our first black president. We still haven't had an African American president. He had a Kenyan father and a white mama. Now we're going to Kamala Harris, who had an Indian mama and a Jamaican daddy. And then even if we go to somebody who's African American, like Cory Booker had 2 IBM. I mean, it's just nobody. There's just nobody to represent, and we don't even know what it's supposed to be to represent us. We don't even understand how we're supposed to be represented in this thing. That's another problem. We don't even know how we're supposed to be represented, and why. And we're not even willing to be selfish in terms of who we are and what we need and what we demand, because we don't want to offend other brown people. Yeah, but you can't do that.
That's a problem.
Yeah, we don't want to offend anybody brown.
We have a justice claim. It's not even being selfish.
Yeah.
We have a justice claim that's particular to us.
Yeah.
Well, you don't call Indian or Native Americans selfish when they're like, they took our land. No.
Yeah.
They have a justice claim that's particular to them. And I said, go ahead and get it.
Yeah, you go get yours, but I'm going to get mine too.
I'm going to get mine too. And it's particular to us. We're not talking about Japanese internments, although the Japanese internment,
they got some reparations.
They got theirs. And it's particular to them.
Ain't that about something?
And they weren't giving it to all Asians.
No, they were giving it. They weren't saying, "Oh, everybody from an Asian country, come get your money." No, we were going to give it to these specific people. And they'd be like, "Well, you all aren't slaves anymore, and you're not the daughter of a slave, so I don't know why you should get anything." It's not my fault y'all this country didn't do the right thing when it happened. You should have done the right thing then. You made it complicated. Not my fault no more.
You made it complicated. I like the Freedmen Bureau. You didn't take it.
Yeah, you did. You didn't. The Freedmen Bureau was good, but you didn't do anything with it. It's not my fault, and I know why you didn't do anything with it. Racist. So you didn't do anything with it.
You made it complicated.
Yeah, let me tell you, the black descendants of there are some descendants of Black Wall Street who are still alive. These people were still alive during Obama's term, and he didn't give them nothing, but he gave Holocaust victims something. And y'all still go around talking about, oh, we miss Obama for what? He wasn't nothing but a tool of white supremacy. What y'all miss that man for? Wasn't nothing. Didn't even deal with any kind of black woman ever until he married Michelle. And you gonna talk about you miss him? I ain't never seen a black woman come out and say, I dated Barack Obama. When? I ain't never seen her. How come, dude? He used us. But I put that up. So let me just read you in this CBC in terms of how immigration has affected. Yeah, put it up. In terms of how immigration has affected affirmative action. It says when affirmative action started, 99% of blacks in the country were native born. Good God Almighty. When affirmative action started, 99% of the blacks in the country were native born. The assumption that the assumption was that you'd be helping black descendants of slavery and segregation. And that's still the same. That's my boy again, Kevin Brown. Listen, anybody who tells you that affirmative action wasn't designed for black people is lying. That's just all it is. The influx of non-whites from places such as the Caribbean, Africa, and Latin America has complicated the use of preferences in higher education. According to Center for Immigration Studies data, more than 5 million Caribbean and African citizens immigrated to America in 2013. Okay? Brown says the influx of non-whites from places such as the Caribbean, Africa, and Latin America has complicated the use of preferences in higher education. According to the Center for Immigration Studies data, more than 5 million Caribbean and African students immigrated in 2013. Brown argues those immigration patterns, along with interracial marriages, are distorting the effects of affirmative action. In fact, he says it's resulting in a crowding out effect for blacks born domestically, jumbling up results on diversity policies, making it difficult to identify who exactly benefits. We never really had a conversation about whether blacks not native born should benefit or multiracial should be considered black, Brown said. These groups, he claims, don't have the same connection to history and oppression and racism in the U.S. Brown said natives will be almost completely cut out. Brown says at the current rate, native blacks will be completely shut out. We're getting shut out. We're just getting replaced.
That's California.
And I was talking to somebody on the phone who lives in California who said liberals are leaving LA because they don't like the way they have to live, but they won't talk about it. These white liberals who get on, it's all fine, they're leaving. But as African Americans, we just getting shut out. And we don't understand that we are competing. Part of this whole thing that's happening is that people, especially, you even have Asians saying that we're not being treated fairly in terms of affirmative action. Like it's going to too many black people. You all haven't looked that up. I think I have a clip here. Let me see if I can find a clip. I think I have a clip here where they basically talk about how as Asians, they're being shut out.
Ooh.
But you think all minorities are in it together. Put that up, Ryan. But you think all minorities are in this together, right? We all in it together. All minorities are in it together. Let me tell you something. Don't nobody sing this kumbaya stuff for African Americans. Everybody else understands that we're competing, and they're competing with us. They understand the Asian students face substantial disadvantages. They've been part of the reason. They've been part of this push. But you go around talking minority and diversity while we're stuck at the bottom for 400 years. Just stupid. There's no other way to describe it. There's no other way to describe it. So, I mean, we're about to go to the phones in a second. So I just don't know what to say.
Honestly, I really love the point where you said, because people keep saying, well, how are we going to figure out who's a descendant of slave and who's what? Hey, look, it's not black people's fault that white people made it complicated. They could have made us whole after the Civil War, but they didn't.
And should have.
They could have made us whole during Jim Crow, but they didn't when it was real clear.
Made it worse at every turn.
Yeah, so like you guys made it worse. You guys screwed it up. So some white people are going to pay a little bit extra.
Yeah.
And like some money's going to be handed around to a few more black people than you'd like to.
And some programs are going to be changed.
And
there are going to be some redistributive
Before,
mechanisms.
Before we were only asking for 40 acres and a mule. Now we want the interest.
Yeah, on that 40 acres and a mule.
Yeah, that's all. It's complicated because you guys made it complicated. Not my fault.
Yeah, and I just want to say something. Like, before we go to the phones real quick, I just want to say something. Some of you, and I know I'm going to get this in the comments, so let me just address it now. Some of you keep saying, well, Yvette, I don't understand why you're being so divisive. You're being so divisive, Yvette. You know, why are you dividing us in terms of we're all black people? And let me tell you, you don't have to be divided. If you want to just everybody has the same access to affirmative action, you can do that. Just don't come crying to me when your kid don't get into Stanford. Yeah. Just don't come crying to me when your kid don't get into Columbia.
No, don't tell me that 72,000 is the same as 3,000 to 4,000.
It's not.
That's like.
But don't come crying to me. We can't listen. You can have your Pan-Africanist. We all the same. Everybody has the same access to affirmative action. You can, but you don't get to come to me and complain about your kid not getting into college. Or he didn't get into this good school. He worked hard, Yvette. He didn't get into Cornell. He didn't get into NYU, Yvette. I don't know what's going on. Yeah, somebody took his slot, and I told you that. And you said I was being divisive. So take your little non-divisive cell phone and deal with what you got to deal with. Enroll him at a state school or a community college or whatever you can afford and go on about your business. Because we do not live in an infinite planet. There are not infinite amounts of spots at good schools. There is a finite amount, and people are competing for that finite amount, and you should be competing too. If you don't understand that you have to compete, then you are going to fail. I didn't set up I didn't set this whole thing up. I'm just telling you how it is. I didn't make it that way. It's not my ball game. I didn't do it, but I'm telling you how it is. You don't get to see people through the lens of skin color as opposed to the lens of heritage and struggle. That's who we are. And if you're a good ally, you don't want to take my spot at a university. There's a lot of other spots you can take. Why are you gonna take mine? You should mark white or Asian on your application. Just mark white and see if you get in. You shouldn't even mark. You should. Well, I know black people, African American. You shouldn't even get that. You know better. Done school somewhere, some elite school, and you come from an elite family in an African or Latino country, or something. You want to come over here and compete against me? We can't compete against people who did that. That's the whole point. That was the whole point of affirmative action. That we can't compete against them. And now you're trying to take it away. Dude, come on. I mean, I don't understand what we're doing. Yeah, somebody said, yeah, like people just want to shame me, or you're being divisive, or you're being xenophobic. No, I'm not. I'm just telling you what it is. I'm standing up for myself. I'm standing up for my people. You stand up for yours. You know, the thing is, people never want us to be African American. But if you ever going around a immigrant group, they proudly have their flag and talk about their heritage and talk about who they are and talk about, and I don't have no problem with that. But then I'm not supposed to talk about who I am. I'm not supposed to talk about my heritage and what that justice claim means and my people. But you can talk about your stuff all day long, right? That's how we working this out. No.
Well, the thing is, the divisions are already there. The divisions are already there. We just don't want the con of like covering them up.
Yeah, I'm just acknowledging them.
The division between 72,000 and 3,000 to 4,000
is there.
Is already there.
Education level is there. The income when you get here, as opposed to African American, is already there. I'm not divided. We already divided. I'm just
shining the light. Shining the light.
Don't get mad at the message. It's already been divided. And let me tell you something else, black people. A lot of these people already know it's divided. They're just not gonna tell you to your face. Nobody's gonna tell you, well, we're not the same. Nobody gonna tell you that. La Raza means the race. Somebody said, what does La Raza mean, the race? What is it? Come on, people. Come on. So we ready to go to the phone yet, Iron?
Yeah, I think I got it. Hold on.
Okay. I mean, come on. I don't understand. I don't understand what we're doing.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Yvette?
What's going on, Antonio?
I had to call in. I always appreciate the show. I appreciate you guys bringing this to the forefront. I did a video less than a few days ago on black female power and all the things that we've been talking about with black female pay. And again, I respect that black women should be paid, but black people need to be paid correctly. It's a trip because people will come on your page and say that talking about descendants of slaves and recognizing slavery, to hundreds of years of slavery is divisive while they write an article about black female pay.
Yeah.
That is doing nothing else but recognizing a division that factually and from the data doesn't really create any kind of extreme result difference. You have to understand that today, no matter what they show you in the news, black female incarceration is about 0.3%. It's quite, it's 0.3%. Slightly higher than the normal rate. We haven't really seen a subgroup outside of African American men and Latino men break 1%. Meaning, I'm talking about every country, modern world ever. Black men are at 10%. Add all those dollars in when you start talking about income, and you might see black men at 58 cents on the dollar for a white man. And I guess for me, what's the problem is that black women are being used as a tool to destroy the black family in so many ways. And I don't think that they truly understand that. Because if we don't fight the black issue, then it all falls apart. The idea that black women are a double minority is extremely flawed. And what you have at many universities is that you'll have 7 black women already admitted. You only have 2 black men. But because you get double points for her being a woman and a black, you'll admit a 9th black woman rather than a 3rd black man. Mm-hmm. Do you understand what that does to the dating pool when you get to the end? Ooh. That's why you don't have males to date. Your own admission was his failure. And so, and I'm not guessing about this. I talked to admission directors at law schools. And so, for me, what I think is starting to happen is we don't really understand that every black person that you see that's descended from slavery in this country with the kind of wealth they have should damn near be rich. And it's because we're so poor, we have no context that, when I say rich, in the top 20% of the country. Imagine that world. And I think for us, they have a Will Packer is doing a new series. Interesting to see where it will go with the guy that did Boondocks. What would a post reparations America look like? I don't know what they're going to do with it, because I don't know if they know the data well enough. But I know for a fact that the kind of wealth that this country has, with the small number of people that we have contextually, there's hundreds of millions, we're only 40 million people, that we would be really, really well off and really, really stable. Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say about the division that everybody kind of brings up is Haiti and Jamaica and the Caribbean. And you have to understand that their slavery, for whatever reason, didn't produce the kind of wealth that ours did. And that's a division that you got to recognize. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have a claim, and they don't bring those claims in Haiti or Jamaica. But when we bring our claims here, I think it's a disrespect for anyone to tell us that we can't. That's like going on a Native American casino and saying, y'all shouldn't do this. Everybody should have the right to have this casino.
That's true.
And I think that's disrespectful to them. I think that to go to Haiti today and just start saying, I'm just going to build my house here because we all were slaves, I wouldn't do that. And no. I just want to give you support. Say, I see your mission. I think we as black people got to understand it's not about gender as much as it is about race and then poverty. Gender, I'm not saying you don't have significant individual issues, But fundamentally, when you break the data down, we're the only group that inverts, meaning we're the only group when you look at college admission, when you look at unemployment, when you look at pay rate, when you include incarcerated, the men are worse. The only group. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thanks, Antonio. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's a lot. That's a lot. Your admission was his failure. Ooh-wee. Ooh-wee. Done turn this thing around on us. Turned it around. I want to thank Antonio Tone Talks calling in. Race first. That's the most consequential thing in your life. Whether you know it or not, coming from slaves is the most consequential thing in your life, and it always will be. And whether it's, you know, LGBT or gender or feminism, anything that separates you from race first politics is going to be a problem. And you just got to know that. You are African American. You come from, that's what you come from in this country. It's a history of struggle. And we shouldn't be ashamed of that, because a lot of people might not have made it through, and we did. And we shouldn't allow anyone to make us feel ashamed or make us feel like, oh, you're trying to be a victim. No. I'm trying to get what I'm owed. How does somebody make you feel a victim when you were owed something, and like you go to your job to get your last check and they say, nah, we ain't got it, and then when you say, no, you need to have it, you say, well, stop being a victim. What? You got my money, and I'm not leaving without my money, and we left without our money. So, you want to take the next call?
Yeah, sure. Hello?
Hey.
Hello?
Hey.
This is Warren from Chicago. I can't believe I got through to you guys. Hey, Army. Hey, Yvette. Love you guys to death.
Hey.
Love what you're doing. Just wanted to speak to to what you were talking about as far as, you know, immigrants, people who look like us, but who, you know, don't have the legacy or the background that we have. And I think about some of the comments that I see on your comment thread from people who come from these places, and they get very upset and very angry about, you know, what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I just like to reiterate that they don't understand our legacy. They don't understand. A lot of them don't even care. And it just shows the importance of a political education, because I think, you know, it's up to us to be educated ourselves, and then to let them know what our legacy is. You know, you have to fight for what's yours.
Yeah.
You know, and I'll try to make this quick. I have a buddy who, he's Nigerian, and he lives in a black area on the south side of Chicago, and sometimes we'll get into these heated political debates, and he'll say, you all need to get over slavery. You know, that he comes with that kind of thing.
Yeah.
No excuses. And I'm like, well, I know what you're saying, because I'm tired of Nigerians talking about what the British did to them and blah, 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 blah. And he's like, hey, wait a minute. Well, now you're being ignorant. I said, oh, so, you can talk about us making excuses, but when I bring it to you, I'm being ignorant, you know, so I just think that's a trip. So, political education is everything.
Yeah. Thank you, Carl. I appreciate it. Listen, that was a great article. If you can find it, that was a great article in QZ.com about how Nigeria has the highest inequality of like most countries in the world. Rampant with corruption. Like, you don't have any advice to give me. Honestly, like, you just don't have no advice to give me. Your country's in shambles. It's the most corrupt country on the planet. You don't have any advice to give me. And I think that's part of the problem. Like, you know, you come here and you think you can teach me something based on what? There's a reason why you ain't there no more. There's a reason why you come here, and you came here for your opportunity, for your payday. I mean, and so I don't want to hear it. You can't have that conversation with me. And I think that's what has to happen. And I didn't used to be like that. I used to, oh my God. One day I'm gonna tell everybody about how I helped Nigerians.
But not today.
The things not today. And the things I went through, and believing, oh, we all in it together. That's why I tell y'all all the time. It's okay to be stupid. You can't be upset that you were stupid. That happens. We make stupid decisions. We do stupid things. When you look at the data, everything becomes clear though. Don't feel bad about it. Don't regret it. Don't walk around and saying like, oh my God, I just can't believe. No, that's because this is. Let me tell you why. You know why you did that? Propaganda. The Democratic Party's propaganda teaches us that if we don't all stick together because we brown, that the Republicans are going to take over and put us all in chains and throw us in a concentration camp. That's what they teach. So of course you're going to believe that way. It's just now time to come out of the indoctrination. That's all. Don't beat yourself up. Don't blame yourself. And so, but in terms of Nigeria, you cannot tell me anything because I know where you come from, and I know what that looks like. Okay, and I know what that corruption looks like, and I know that you didn't stay there to fix your country. I know you came here, so you can't have that conversation with me. So,
so I got a quick question about. I'm going to put this up, and I'm going to say
who is that?
That's Mr. Colin Kaepernick.
Okay,
now Colin Kaepernick is currently engaged in the most highest profile like his employment discrimination is on the news every day. He's having a hard time getting a job. So this is a guy with pretty much an infinite access to lawyers. Not an infinite access to lawyers, but he's more than a single digit millionaire most likely.
Yeah.
And he knows his rights because that's what his t-shirt says, but he still can't get He still can't get a job. He still can't get the league to acknowledge the employment discrimination. And you know what this is? This is a failure of black politics. He can't get a job because there isn't political will behind his cause. Yep. Because it doesn't matter. Like, honestly, it doesn't matter. I could show you the books. There's a great book called, it's written by Jared Rosenberg. I can't remember the title right now, but it's pretty much, unless there's political will, everyone ignores your rights claim. That's why the schools didn't get desegregated, just because in 54, there was a court case. It didn't matter. There wasn't political will behind it. So it just didn't happen. It just didn't happen. The states were like, no. So Colin Kaepernick can show the EEOC and all of that stuff to the Dolphins or the 49ers, and they'll be like, nope. So you need a black politics that actually gets movement in the streets and in the press to get this man a job or to get us our rights.
That's how you push stuff.
Knowing the rights isn't enough. You need to organize. Yeah. You need to organize. If there was enough movement in the streets. And that's
organizing is what? It's collective. It's not individual.
No, it's collective. Individually, if you're rich, you can buy a lawyer, but that's still not going to be enough because I'm sure Colin Kaepernick has the lawyers out there trying to sue the league or the teams in the league for employment discrimination. Everybody in these United States knows why Colin Kaepernick.
But black people ain't standing for it. Black people ain't gonna stand. They're gonna be watching football when they come on again.
Yeah, because there needed to be an organization before that. What he needs is the players' union getting behind his back. There's a players' association. The NFL association has a players' union. They need to get behind his back. Knowing your rights isn't enough.
But you know, it's black people we didn't tell him to do that. He should just play here. He should just. You got to do. What's the dude who was involved with stabbing them people?
Ray Lewis.
Yeah.
He found Jesus though.
He was at the scene. He's a babbling little fool. He's a big fool, but he was. Well, I think he's just keep it to himself. You were involved in a murder or something. Didn't the man die?
Yeah.
Who are you to tell anybody what to do? The reason you so crazy right now and babbling is because you can't get over that. We all know that. What you did, what you involved. I know you weren't found guilty or whatever. Money is everything. But come on, man. You shouldn't ever talk about morality or have a moral authority. You were involved in a murder. Come on, man.
So knowing your rights isn't enough to get Colin Kaepernick a job. He needs an organization. And that's why we need 100,000 subscribers. So tell your friend, people, because when they come after Yvette and they come after me in my basement, we're gonna need we're gonna need all 100,000.
Run like the wind.
We're gonna need a squad because for reasons.
I'm fast.
Fast. I'm just saying there's no substitute for political organization.
No, none.
So tell your friends. Right. Let's get our numbers up and start talking to your people. Start talking to your people about what we're doing here. Start talking about your people about organization. Start talking to your people about the importance of politically organizing for justice for your people. So when one of us gets our neck cut off, they have a squad behind us. There's a squad behind them. There's no substitute for political will.
Yep. Absolutely right. Let's go to the next call with your morbid.
If they come for us,
that's depressing.
If they come for us, I want 200 subscribers. I want you to send a tweet and for it to shut down.
What happened to Yvette and Ireland?
Yeah.
They ain't been here in 2 weeks.
Look, if we're not here in 2 weeks, everybody send a tweet to Kamala Harris. Say free Yvette.
Women with the fishes.
Yes. Yes. So tell your friends we need to get to 200,000 first. All right, next call. And we want to live.
We're not depressed or suicidal. Hey!
It's your girl Tanya for Dallas. I had to get in on this affirmative action talk after what I saw at that White House press conference. And there was one big piece that I had to have an issue with.
What's that?
Why did they assume that affirmative action, when they was talking about the immigration thing, and they talking about low-paying jobs, that's all we black folks is about?
Oh, well.
First off, some of us have degrees, and we can't even compete with the white capitalists that's in those positions. You shake the table, and there's a lot of salt coming down from these corporations and not enough pepper in high key positions. So what do they mean? And secondly, we descended of slaves. Why would we want to get low wages for stuff we did for 400 years for free?
Uh-oh.
And like you said, affirmative action was meant for us. Mm-hmm. And I don't mean to be frank, and it's probably rare that I even spat out a cuss word on air, but to hell with them feelings for those who's having a problem with it. We need to get ours.
Yeah.
They snatched back the 40 acres and the mule. They burned down the communities we tried to build for ourselves with our bootstraps.
Yep.
And now you want to talk about this? Sorry, folks, it ain't for you. It's for us to send us as slaves. And if you can't get that, then oh well. But like I said, we do need to make our politics work and quit whining about who's going to be the sacrificial lamb for us black folks and get a real descendant of slaves if you're going to pick one to be our leader to represent us that knows what's going on.
Right.
Well, I'm going to let you guys get on back to talking and listen to the convo and enjoy my libations.
Thank you, Colin. Enjoy your libations. Everybody should enjoy their libations every Monday and Wednesday. Enjoy your libation. I'm telling you, relax yourself. You deserve it. Okay, but she's right. I ain't got no feeling. I don't know why black people gotta have feelings on you all the time. Everybody, we got feelings like, well, that might upset. Do you think? Listen, we live in a country that's ruthless. Now, I'm not telling you how to be, but I'm telling you, you can't be the nice, sweet person in a ruthless country. People are coming over here ruthless.
That's why they come here.
That's why they ruthless. They ruthless when they get here. And you come here talking about, well, hey, and we down with you, and yeah, it is. No, these people are ruthless. You can't do that. You got to see this in the prism of self-interest. First and foremost, before you do anything with anybody else, your self-interest is first. I don't care how you feel, though. Like, it's not about you. Well, I'm upset that you said, no, you got to be willing to say that to people. Okay, you feel the way you do. What's that supposed to mean for me? How do you expect me to react because you're upset? Is that supposed to somehow make my heart chill, or it's supposed to just make my heart quiver? I'm not that sensitive. I don't that's not my thing. And before I have any allyship, for anybody, you gotta understand that I'm here first. Unless you can show that you can go back some generations, that's fine. Because we had Caribbeans and people here way back when that were doing stuff, and during a specific period of Pan-Africanism, where Pan-Africanism was actually viable, they were doing stuff with us. If you can show you descent from those people, I got you. But that ain't, that ain't what it is. You come in here just saying I'm black, like, you look at me, I got kiki hair. No, you still not me, and that's okay. It don't mean I hate you. It don't mean I dislike you. It don't mean I don't wish the best for you. It just is what it is. And I need you to understand that. So, the caller's right. I appreciate the call. Next caller. I don't know what to tell you about your feelings.
How you doing, guys? How you doing tonight? This is Brandon.
Hey, Brandon, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I was calling to ask, great show. Big supporter of you guys. I love you guys.
Thank you.
I wanted to ask a question about today. I forgot the gentleman's name. He was speaking he was speaking in the White House, and he was talking about illegal immigration, how they're going to curb legal immigration and how they are competing against minorities and competing against how it's hurting the African American community. I don't know if you caught that today. And I remember April, she came out and said, well, you said you're going to target the African American community, and he was like, yes, the Trump administration wants to put African Americans back to work. And I know you and Ironman and as Tone talks, I mean, this is a big, serious issue. And so he was saying that legal immigration is a problem. Not just legal, it's also illegal. And, you know, Jim Acosta got real offended. He was saying, you know, you're trying to go against what the Statue of Liberty says and things of that nature. So I just want you to comment on that, because it was a pretty I can say passionate exchange. And also, you know, that Trump saying you want to put African Americans back to work. So I think this is kind of our time to say, you know what, Democrats can do it. If we can get a deal with Trump, get it done.
Yeah, so listen, self-interest. If you're going to put me back to work, then I'm fine. I think what he said, one of the things, like when you talk about legal immigration, H-1B visas are just a really, that's supposed to be something that only they can do. That's just a way to take American workers out and use cheap workers from India and other places.
So, Yvette, you're telling me that if Trump offers your nephews a job building a wall, you'd want them to build that wall for $20 an hour?
I want them to do whatever they got to do to make money. Like here's the thing. Like,
there's no shame in building that wall, black man.
Listen, we're out of the space for this argument of where I can't do this because X, Y, and Z. I can't do this. I can't listen. If you want to put me to work. And we have a process. I'm just not an open borders person. There are a lot of people who believe that we shouldn't have borders. What I say to you is that dilutes my claim in this country. Citizenship, and I've said this before on this show, and those who watch know it. Citizenship is supposed to mean something, but we've gotten into this space where citizenship doesn't mean anything. Anybody can come here and make the same claim I can make. So what does that mean in terms of what my ancestors fought for and what your ancestors fought for and what they purchased with blood? What they purchased with blood is supposed to mean something. So yeah, if you can put black people back to work and curb immigration, I don't see a problem with that, because you're supposed to come here legally anyway. I think the big thing that we have to do, if you're talking about, well, how do we help the immigrants? We have to help, especially the ones who come from places like Honduras and El Salvador. We have to help. We have to get our government in check. The biggest way to help immigrants is to get foreign policy in check. Yeah. But nobody wants to do that. Nobody wants to hold the government accountable for foreign policy that destabilizes people in these immigrant communities. It's easier just to say, I support immigrants. No, you people who live in these top 20%, you all have maids and all this stuff, and you want that for your own self. You don't really care. They aren't competing against your kids. They competing against me. They competing against my cousins and stuff. They're not competing against your kids, so you really don't care because you're not affected. So it is what it is. Somebody said NAFTA. Yeah. Come on, man. When this stuff started, it was mostly African American. Come on, man.
All right, you on?
Hello?
Hello?
Hey, Yvette.
Hey.
Tommy. Hey, how are you? This is Lucy, enjoying your program. How y'all doing?
I'm doing all right.
Okay. I got 3 quick questions I want to ask you. Okay.
3.
If you can maybe jot down the question, I'll try to be real quick about it. Okay. All right. The first one is, you think that white women basically oppose affirmative action because they feel more academically qualified and entitled alongside white men to basically fill job and college admission slot? Like, basically, they just basically feel more entitled than other groups? That's the first question. The second one is, would you favor a program or a stance that black people should fight for population proportionate representation per city for state jobs, juries, and contracts, and maybe to make up 15% of the national population of the U.S. That should be, the percentage of slots that we should get, perhaps in predominantly white institutions. That's the second question. And the third question is regarding college admissions specifically, could you describe what your plan would be in terms of an affirmative action program, and how would HBCUs figure into it? Thank you. Those are my questions.
All right, now have a good day. I mean, did you get the first question? I didn't quite
understand
what
so here's the deal. People don't understand that women have been outscoring men coming out of high school for at least 30 years. So preferential policies, especially in the South, but all over the nation, already have to work to get men into school at the rates that they get women into school.
Okay.
Like if it were done straight by the numbers, even UGA right here would be 70% women. Okay. So like the president has to like work to get men at level and like to get men at the school at the level that women are, because men often go to the military or they get jobs straight out of high school, whereas like women study and go to college. That's across races. However, affirmative action helps women in professional schools, graduate schools, in jobs, in promotion, in all of these other endeavors, right?
Yes.
So that's how. So I mean, white women have a complicated relationship with affirmative action because they benefit in everything except undergraduate education, but then they benefit with affirmative action. Like affirmative action works against white women in undergraduate education, but it works for them in everything else.
Okay.
Because they get the hookup from their uncle or their cousin. Like they get preferential treatment in like the jobs and in hiring.
Okay.
So like
his second question, he said something about proportional representation. It just was it's just too complicated. Just I mean, just we're the only ones who get affirmative action. Like I just don't don't make it too complicated. Or at the minimum, as if you want to negotiate, we get first. Like we're the heaviest of anybody of any other group. Right. I mean, in terms of college admissions and HBCUs, wow. I've always thought the HBCUs should just be endowed.
Yeah,
that should be part of the whole reparations package.
So I'll tell you, at Curtis Institute, it's probably the best school of music in the United States. It doesn't get the kind of press that Juilliard gets, but it's the highest quality institute. It's in Philadelphia. No tuition. Like everyone goes to Curtis for free.
Okay.
And BYU, the big Mormon school. I think all the BYUs in Provo, Utah, the one in Hawaii, and they have one in Idaho. The Mormons go there for free.
Yep.
For free.
That's what we
So
need.
like. Black people just go there for free. And actually, I think black people, if you go into one of those schools, you get tuition. Because like living in D.C., not tuition, a stipend. Because living in D.C. costs money.
It's very expensive.
It's very expensive. So you get a stipend. And honestly, we'll go one farther than that. You get free tuition, you get a stipend. And if once you're done, you can't find a job, you get a nice government job. Find a nice federal job for you. Until you
get yourself together.
The federal government.
You got to guarantee a job because they ain't gonna pay us.
Yeah, you got to guarantee a job.
You either have to guarantee a job or you have to guarantee access to a job. You got to do one of those two things because we can't just be with degrees and unemployed, which is happening now.
Yes.
So it just is what it
is. Guarantee me
a
job, and I think that's fair. Yeah, you give me tuition. You give me. This is fair as a beginning for the education part. You give me tuition. You give me a stipend while I'm going to school, and then you guarantee a federal job as the last resort, as the employer of last resort. And then,
okay,
we can go from there.
Let's go to the next call.
Good evening. How are you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, I am on the road, man, in the middle of the night, coming to you guys. Neck of the woods, but as usual, your conversation is so fabulous, and this is kind of right up my alley.
Okay.
I did a tremendous amount of research on affirmative action, and you guys, your comments are spot on. And I think, I remember a few weeks ago, there was an article, an interview that was done by of the Nigerian poet, novelist, Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I don't know if I'm pronouncing her name correct.
Adichie, I think.
She's kind of run into a little controversy, but she made an interesting comment about her dissatisfactions with the portrayal of Africans on screen, and her comment was this. She said, I only want to see Africans play Africans on screen. And she was making that comment in relation to, I think, Forrest Whitaker playing Idi Amin in The Last King of Scotland. All right, so there were several people who actually agreed with that comment. One of them was the brother who played Solomon Northup, the African or Black Brit who played Solomon Northup in 12 Years a Slave. Another person who agreed with that comment is it David Oyelowo, who played Martin Luther King in Selma, and the black woman who played Patty in 12 Years a Slave also agreed with Chimamanda's remarks about only Africans should be playing Africans on film. Well, my response to that was, well, then why should either of you be allowed to come to America and play black Americans on film? How is that any different? You would never see any Russian, German, Austrian, Hungarian, Balkan, or any of them allow you to confuse either of them with each other, despite that they have the same skin color. The height of white supremacy is the nomenclature of melanin skin content. So we assign value to melanin and skin. And whenever I see black people do that, they are unconsciously buying into the nomenclature of white supremacy. So I just wanted to point that out. Also, there's a great article by Lonnie Grenier, who is actually a Jamaican American, who does a lot of research on what you guys are talking about. And I believe the name of that article was Confirmative Action, Confirmative. And in that was one of the earliest articles that pointed out that the people who Harvard and Yale and the rest of these Ivy League institutions were bringing in were not, I forgot the acronym you guys used for this, DOS. They were not DOS. They were actually immigrants. And she was pointing that out almost 10 to 12 years ago. So that's very important. All right, last thing. Ray Lewis and also, what's his name? Stephen A. Smith. I just wanted to point this out. Army and Yvette, you guys are free black people. Whenever there is a discussion, a panel, or anything, there needs to be a disclaimer as it relates to who are the free black people on the stage and who are not the free black people. And what I mean by that is, are you a person who can, whatever you're about to say in that interview, whatever you're about to say on that panel, can you say what you want? Can you post what you want afterwards on Facebook? And can you tweet whatever you want as it relates to that conversation and still have the expectation that you will be employed on Monday morning? Yeah. If the answer to that question is no, then you should be a person that is given limited platform as it relates to discussing the freedom of black issues and the issues associated with that. I just wanted to make that very clear, because if you are a person who employment depends on, as you guys always say, that's their job, then your comments are always going to be filtered through the company man. Yeah. You're always going to be the company guy. At the end of the day, you are going to come down on the side of the company. We saw that with Michael Vick's comments on the hair. Yeah. We saw that on Ray Lewis' comment. And these guys, Michael Vick is a convicted felon, and as you mentioned, Ray Lewis was on charge for murder. To equate that, and Shannon Sharp said, is any of what Colin Kaepernick did, is any of what he did worse than what you guys did? So how are you arguing that the organization should treat them worse than you? Yep. This is the madness of what free black people are up against enslaved black people. You got to fight that battle. You have to be able to win the battle first against enslaved black people. And if you win that battle, and if you do it well, then you will be allowed to fight white people. But only then.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. I appreciate the comment. Let me say the only thing I found with Adichie, and I used this I think before, but she was saying this in the context. Now there might have been another comment, I just didn't see it, but this one was in the context of children's books, and she said, "I want African realities to be explored by Africans. I want African realities to be explored by Africans." Well, I want African American realities to be explored by African Americans. That's just how I feel. And so how is it when I say it, it's controversial, but when she says it as a Nigerian American, it's okay? Like that, well, that's her right to feel that way. Well, it's my right to feel that way too. Somebody asked me, well, are you going to watch Detroit? No, I'm going to not watch Detroit, because the lead actor is the actor who slammed Samuel L. Jackson when he said the same thing. When he said that our realities, we should find African Americans for a lot of these roles that Africans are playing. When he said that, the guy who plays the lead role in Detroit, who's also, I think, Nigerian or Nigerian American, he put up a nasty little tweet. Well, I'm not going to support anything else you do. I'm never going to watch another movie if I see you in the trailer. It's just never going to happen. Remember the guy from Star Wars? I'm not Boyo, what's his name? John Bodeo, whatever. I'm never going to watch anything else you do. It's not just because I disagree with you, but it's disrespectful. Like Samuel L. Jackson is like, he's a legend not just among African American actors, but among actors. And for you to come out and just issue a disrespectful tweet, you don't respect African Americans. You're not a respecter of people who have honed their craft for years. And so I don't think, I know I won't, and I don't think African Americans should come out and support anything else you do. You didn't even try to have a respectful conversation. You think you're better than you are. And so I think you should go back to making movies elsewhere. Maybe go back to Britain. I don't know. But I don't need you here. You ain't that great anyway, son. So, free black people versus enslaved black people. I think that's beautiful. Who pays your check?
Who pays your check?
Do black people pay you, or did these people who gonna get you to say some bull pay you?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'll be honest. We gotta ask the Breakfast Club that. That's the Breakfast Club. Well,
somebody just said something real stupid. Only blacks hate on each other. Have you ever listened to Rush Limbaugh? Have you ever heard the way he talks about Democrats? Have you ever heard the way he talked about the Harry Reid and all the Democrats? Stop saying stupid stuff. You just embarrass yourself in the chat. Like, you expose yourself as like a 50-year-old with a 14-year-old brain. White people go at each other all the time. Like, what do you mean? They discuss. It's only us who have this thing where we can't criticize nobody black. And look what that got us. That got us Barack Obama and a whole lot of other stuff. Stop saying stupid stuff in the chat. Just hush. Let's go to the next caller.
Okay. Last one?
Yep.
Hello.
Hey.
Hey, hello. My name's Gretchen, and I'm out here in California, and I just enjoy your program.
Thank you.
And I thank you for bringing awareness to our community and what's insightful. I was thinking about this affirmative action. What can we do to I have grandchildren, and I want them to go to college, and I can't afford the university fees that, especially these extra fees that are coming on. What can we do to bring more awareness to people to fight for our rights? Because it is for the black, people, front of the action program. What can we do?
Thank you, caller. Let me just say the consequence of having an apolitical generation that decided to take the benefits of affirmative action without fighting for affirmative action is that some of y'all got kids that's not going to go to college. That's just the consequence of this apolitical generation that we had.
And you're not talking about the millennial now. You're talking about the boomers.
No, I'm not. The millennials got screwed because of the boomers.
Yes.
I'm talking about people that decided they're just going to get a job, not going to get involved about politics. I'm not going to know nothing about politics. I'm not going to continue the political fight. Part of the consequences that is that, and as we are, it's only like upwards of 20-some% of Americans that go to college. Your kids, a lot of us are going to have kids that don't go to college. And you're going to have to be okay with that. That's the consequence.
Hey, now, Yvette, you got to admit, the boomers watch a lot of their idols get shot in the street.
Yeah. and they didn't want to get shot.
They didn't want to get shot.
There's a consequence to that, though.
There's a consequence to that.
There's a consequence to not willing to put yourself at risk, and not just when that happened. Boomers did. A lot of boomers didn't put them. Most boomers didn't put themselves at risk long after that was over.
Yeah.
Even in terms of just like dog catcher. You didn't want to put yourself at risk. So now you're older. You're like, well, I want my kids to go to college. Well, your kids don't go to college without you being political and you getting involved in black politics. You have to be involved. And since you weren't involved, the cost of that. See, that's the thing. Black people, we have to understand everything has a cost. And your silence and your indifference, all of that has a cost. And it's not only you that bears the cost, it's generation after generation. Kids and grandkids will pay the cost for not only your actions, but your inaction as well. And so you have to understand that. And at this point, it just is what it is. There's nothing you can do about it. You should have done something then. Right now, you retire and know that kid and make that kid okay. Don't let them be just wildly aspirational. I'm going to go. Listen, we're going to find you a job, hopefully with some benefits, and that's probably going to be it. Because I didn't do what I was supposed to do. And even if you did it as a boomer, other people didn't do it. Not enough people did it. Yeah. And there's a consequence. There's a cost to everything. If there's one thing that we can understand and kind of wrap our heads around, there's a cost to everything. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in. I want to thank all the callers. We had some good callers tonight. And I want to, again, you can go to breakingbrown.com and subscribe once a month to donate to what Iremy and I are doing here. Hopefully the phones are better. We got some new equipment, right, Iremy?
They should be able to hear the phones.
Yeah, but what'd you get?
I got a preamp.
He got a preamp, and hopefully I haven't heard much complaining about the calls. So hopefully that's better. But you can go to breakingbrown.com and donate once a month, or you can do a one-time donation. You can also go to donatebrown.com and donate. You can you can do it that way. However you want to do it, it's fine with me. Go to subscribe to brownalso.com so that I can have your name, like I said at the beginning of the show, so I can have your information so that anything could happen. I don't want to just kind of be out here and not have your info. Also hit the bell so that you'll get notifications when I'm on. Also, if you haven't already, please subscribe to the channel. Please share this on your page with your friends and your groups or whatever, so that we can kind of grow our little tribe and continue to have these political education, and hopefully grow this into something bigger than what we have now, and have it grow organically, so we don't have to worry about having paymasters and puppet masters pulling our strings and telling us what to do. So thank you, everybody. I do appreciate it. I appreciate it every week when we get to do this. So, I will see you all again Monday. As soon as I figure out my camera, I'll do some quick hits. Thank you.